You don't remember the moment the smoke turned black, only that your legs kept running, even after your home became noise and fire. The sky was still blue when the world ended. That's the cruel part, bright as a morning feast. You were reaching for a sack of barley, your hands crusted with flour, when the shouting began. One man, then three, then none who spoke words you knew. Now you lie in the hull of something that creaks like bone in winter. The boards beneath you are wet, not with water. You smell iron and animal skins, piss and sweat, blood and bread. And the sea, always the sea. It stings your nose, curls beneath your tongue. You gag quietly. They don't notice. You're not the only one chained. You try not to meet the eyes of the girl across from you. Her lip is split, her dress torn at the shoulder. She weeps without sound, chest shuddering like she forgot how to pray. The one who took you, he hasn't spoken since you screamed. He just looks, as if memorizing what your face looks like when it stops belonging to you. A gull cries overhead. One of the men spits. The boat lurches, and your shoulder scrapes the splintered wood. The iron on your ankle isn't tight, but it's enough. You don't test it. Not because you've given up, because you remember the boy who ran and didn't make it to the tree line. You blink, tasting ash in your teeth. The woman next to you moans something in a different tongue. Maybe a prayer, maybe a name, maybe goodbye. Before we go deeper into your story, if this kind of buried history still breathes somewhere inside you, consider subscribing. It helps bring these human shadows back into light. And tell me where you're listening from. I always wonder how far these stories travel once they're free again. You shift. The chain creaks. No one looks. The morning hasn't warmed. They make landfall without warning. The sand is coarse, mixed with seaweed and bone. You're herded like cattle across the shore. One of them shouts, and a man breaks from the group to lash the older slave who limps. He doesn't cry out. You wonder how long it takes to learn that skill. A voice calls orders from a hill deep and sharp. The language means nothing yet, but the sound of command never needs translation. Your eyes drift upward. They've built something. Tall wooden fences, gates carved with curling beasts, smoke drifting from inside. Not a village, a home, for someone with more than they need. You are brought into the courtyard. A pig squeals. A child runs past barefoot and laughing, chewing on something red. A woman stands in the doorway. Her hair is braided like ropes. Her dress stitched with shells and iron coins. She doesn't flinch at the sight of you, just studies you the way someone might study a cloak or a piece of salted fish. Then she nods once, just once. You're taken through the side gate. The door slams behind you with a finality that tastes like meat going cold. They do not tell you your place. You'll have to learn it from the bruises. They strip you in the yard before you cross the threshold. Rough hands, impatient voices. They don't look at you the way people should. They look at your shoulders, your teeth, your thighs, like you're a carcass being inspected for rot. Someone says something sharp and short. Laughter follows. You don't know the words, but the tone is universal. When they tie the collar, they don't pull hard. It settles around your neck like it's always belonged there. Soft leather, iron studs. Not meant to hurt, meant to mark. You're told, by gesture and bark, that it stays on even when you sleep. Inside the longhouse, everything smells like smoke and fur and men. Your bare feet sink into straw slick with fat. Above you, beams blackened by years of fire stretch like ribs over the ceiling. Shields hang from the walls. A dead wolf's head stares down with glass eyes and broken teeth. You aren't spoken to. The first command comes as a gesture. A nod toward a pile of filthy linen and a wooden bucket. You move, not because you understand, but because not moving would mean something worse. You kneel. The collar shifts with you, cool against your collarbone. It pinches when you tilt your head too far. You note that. You'll need to learn your angles. A girl about your age enters with a stack of folded cloth. Her eyes flick to you, then away. Her wrists are bare, no collar, but she doesn't smile. She doesn't help. She just places the cloth near your bucket and vanishes again, like steam into morning. They don't use your name. You realize this after the third time someone calls "hey" in a voice too hard to belong to kin. You try to remember what your name sounds like in your own head. It already feels distant, like something belonging to a different girl, one with shoes and a mother and a barley field. At night, you sleep by the hearth. Not too close. You've already learned that heat is a hierarchy. The collar presses against your skin as you lie down. Not enough to choke, just enough to remind. She enters without sound. You know it's her by the way the others straighten. Not out of fear, exactly, but out of expectation. The same way the dogs outside rise when the master walks past, tail still, ears alert. She wears a ring of keys at her waist, and they clink softly when she moves. You've counted 7. One of them unlocks the pantry, 2 for the chest of dried fish, 1 for the cellar, and another for the chest you're not allowed to look at. The 6th is for the outside gate. The 7th hasn't been used. She watches you now, standing in the corner while you scrub the caked iron pots by the hearth. Her eyes are pale as drift ice, her lips pressed thin beneath the line of her veil. She doesn't blink often. She doesn't speak to you, not even when your hands bleed from the coarse ash and frozen water. Once, you whispered a word in your own language, reflex, prayer, apology, and she slapped you so hard your ear rang through the evening meal. But she didn't raise her voice. She doesn't need to. When it's time to be bathed, they bring you to her chamber. Not the master, her. It's she who nods to the girl with the comb, who lifts the bucket, who tosses you the coarse shift and gestures for your old clothes to be taken. You cover your chest before realizing it doesn't matter. No one here has the decency to look away. She steps forward. Her eyes rake your skin, lingering on old bruises, on the mark by your hip from the scalding pot days ago. She traces it with a finger and then wipes her hand on her apron. You don't know if it's concern or inventory. She holds up a necklace, a thin band of woven copper. You do not reach for it. She places it in a bowl beside her comb, along with a dried sprig of something green. You smell it later, sweet, sharp, like crushed mint and smoke. You wonder if it's meant to cleanse or to claim. The room is warm, thick with fur rugs and fire. The hearth glows, but you shiver. She steps behind you. Her fingers pull the shift down your back. Cold air rushes in. The collar remains on. You hear the keys again. The sound is soft, almost gentle, and she never once says your name. There is no map, no list of tasks, no schedule. Only pain, silence, and the rhythm of others' movements. You learn the house by trial and consequence. The first rule you learn is the threshold. You must never step on it. The carved wooden beam at the door is sacred. Stepping on it brings bad luck. You forget once, just once. The blow to the back of your leg drops you like a sack of grain. No words, just pain. Lesson learned. The second rule is fire. The hearth must always be lit before the master rises. You wake in darkness now, long before the rooster, fumbling with flint, while your fingers are stiff and blind. The fire bites back once, sparks catching your hair. No one notices. You work through the smell. Your hands are always moving, scrubbing, fetching, stitching, lifting. Salted fish leaves your nails raw. Goat milk scalds your palms. You carry buckets taller than your knees through snow-slick courtyard. You fall, you bruise, you get up. The others don't speak unless they must. There's a girl who tends the loom with silent grace. Her name might be Lever. Or perhaps that's just the word the mistress uses when summoning her. She doesn't look at you when you cry the first time. She only drops a square of cloth beside your bucket and keeps weaving. You understand that kindness, here, is given sideways. You learn the master's voice before you learn the words. His footsteps are heavier than others. His laugh carries through walls. When it's loud and fast, it means he's full of drink and may throw things. When it's low and short, he's looking for something, often you. You keep your head down. When the mistress snaps her fingers, you bring the child. When she taps her ring against the rim of her cup, it means she's waiting. The longer she waits, the harder it gets. You're told to clean the hall after feasts. The floor is smeared with grease and beer and bones. The dogs grow bold then, snapping at your hands for scraps. Once, a man leaves his boot in the middle of the room. You try to move it. He grabs your wrist and presses something into your palm. A bit of dried fruit. You're not sure if it's kindness or ownership. The bruise on your hip blooms blue and yellow after you spill the beer bowl. You hide it under layers of wool and silence. They say nothing. They do not need to. You are learning. It happens in passing, a joke you weren't meant to understand. You're outside gathering water, shoulders burning from the yoke, when two of the younger men from the household walk past. One nudges the other and nods toward you. He says something in that clumsy lilt you've begun to understand. The word kennel sticks. They laugh. You pretend you didn't hear. Later, you see the kennel. It's not for dogs, not only. It's a half-sunken shed at the edge of the animal pens, built from rotting planks and thatch barely worthy of pigs. A thin chain lies coiled near the door. You hear a cough from inside. Something moves. A figure, hunched, almost hairless. A woman, or something that used to be. You carry the water faster after that. There is a hierarchy among the broken, and you're not at the bottom. Not yet. In the kitchens, one of the older thralls, a man whose left eye weeps constantly, tells you a quiet story while peeling turnips. He says the kennel is for those who don't work hard enough, or for those who try too hard to escape. He doesn't look at you while he says it. His knife moves slowly, rhythmically. The next time the mistress passes you a bloodied cloth to rinse, you smile and lower your eyes. At night, you're allowed to sleep on a mat inside the storage alcove. Better than the hearth, warmer, fewer rats. But only if you finish your tasks on time. You scrub faster. A child from the household once told you she thought you were magic. Your hands never stop, she said, trying to mimic you, twirling like she was casting a spell. You smiled then, just a little. She laughed and said, "You're better than the dogs." You didn't smile after that. Another thrall, a boy no older than 14, gets caught stealing a boiled egg from the feast table. They don't beat him. They don't shout. They simply send him out. To the kennel. He doesn't come back inside for days. You learn that shame here is a form of exile. Your collar means you belong. For now. She speaks only when others are gone. And even then, only in a hush low enough to be mistaken for a prayer. You call her the Old One, though you've never asked her name. Her eyes are clouded, her fingers stiff, and her breath smells like boiled roots and forgotten things. She tends the dyes in the weaving room, bent over vats of stink and colour that stain her hands forever blue. You scrub the floor nearby, pretending not to listen. She never looks up when she speaks. They stop noticing you when your hips fill out, she says once, dipping wool into a blackened cauldron. But only after they've taken what they want. You don't respond. You don't need to. She's not asking for conversation. They say the gods love strength, she continues. But strength is only loved when it bleeds for someone else. You begin to dread her voice. Not because it's cruel, because it's too honest. She tells you about the mistress before she became the mistress. How she arrived with rings on every finger and fury behind her smile. How she took the keys only after her own mother-in-law died choking on the honey. Not an accident, the old one says, stirring the vat. But it doesn't matter. Not here. You learn more from her in 3 nights than from the whole household in 3 months. You learn what's coming. You'll feel it in the quiet, she says, when your name is the last thing you forget. Her fingers tremble, lifting the dyed wool. They'll dress you up first. They always do. Braids, perfume, soap, like preparing meat for a feast. You ask her why no one stops it. She laughs, and it's the ugliest sound you've heard in that house. They say the gods carved the world with blood. You think this place is any different? That night, a new shift is laid beside your mat. It smells of herbs, and the old one doesn't speak to you again. The fire burns low, just enough to throw your shadow against the wall. You sit on your knees beside the hearth, hands folded in your lap. The shift you were given is thinner than usual, softer. It clings where the old one sagged. You washed your hair because they told you to. You braided it yourself, fumbling with fingers that wouldn't stop shaking. No one said why, but the silence said enough. You don't know how long you've been waiting. Time stretches oddly when you're not allowed to move. Your knees ache, your toes are numb. You don't shift. Stillness has become a shield. The door opens behind you. You don't turn. Boots on stone, the soft thud of wool, a creak from the beam above. Someone closes the door, not slams, closes, deliberately, quietly. You still don't turn. Your breath is loud in your ears, louder than the fire, louder than the footfalls now approaching from behind. They stop, near. You feel them more than you hear them. The scent is strong, ale, sweat and smoke, a hint of animal fur, leather and something faintly metallic. A hand touches your hair. You flinch. You shouldn't have. You know that already. The fingers pause, then resume, stroking, not unkindly, not kindly either, just ownership, like smoothing a fold from cloth. You stare into the fire, willing yourself to be elsewhere, back in the barley field, back in your mother's voice, back in your name, but you are here. Another hand rests on your shoulder, heavy, expectant. No one is watching. No one will knock. The others have turned away, not out of shame, but out of duty. This is simply how it works. This is the unspoken part of labor. You do not cry. That would be a waste of water. The shift slips from your shoulder. You close your eyes. The hearth crackles. The collar presses into your throat. And the worst part, it doesn't hurt. Not like you thought. It just hollows. You wake before the fire does. The coals are dim. The room is silent. No one stirs yet. Even the dogs outside are still. Your shift is wrinkled, damp at the hem. You smell like ash, wool, and him. You sit up slowly, as if any sudden movement might shatter the fragile, sickly piece holding your ribs together. Your thighs ache. You don't look down. You already know. There's no blood. You exhale through your nose, quietly, the way you've learned to do. You rise. You take the basin. You leave the chamber without a sound. No one stops you. At the water trough, you wash your hands first, then your legs, then between your legs. The cold bites you, but you welcome it. It feels clean, punishing, real. You scrub until your skin turns red. You pour the water out behind the shed, where the ground slopes away from the house. The grass is blackened from old ashes. You dig a hole with your fingers, not deep, just enough to bury the cloth you used, and with it, something else. A silence, a part of you. You press the soil down carefully, like tucking in a child. And when you stand again, you feel nothing. Not grief, not rage, just a new kind of stillness. The kind that comes after the last scream has already echoed back and died. The rest of the day moves like ritual. You stir porridge with the same hand that buried your shame. You sweep the hearth. You serve the mistress her drink without looking at her mouth. You braid the child's hair. You fold the laundry. You scrub the blood from the master's tunic. Maybe animal, maybe not. Each motion is clean, controlled, perfect. You do not think. You repeat, like prayer. That night when you lie down, the collar feels different. Not heavier, not tighter, just more familiar. You close your eyes and feel the earth under your nails. You don't dream. It's just past dawn when she finds you in the smokehouse. You were sent there to hang the fish, but lingered too long, tracing the curve of the salt barrels with one finger, letting the cold fog your breath like a veil. It's the only place no one talks, no one touches. The little girl enters barefoot, dragging a wooden horse by a leather string. Her tunic is clean. Her cheeks are ruddy from the fire. She blinks at you, nose wrinkling. You don't talk much, she says. Not cruelly, just honest. You straighten your spine and nod once. She watches you for a moment, her toy forgotten. Then, with all the innocence a household like this allows, she asks, "Are you a ghost?" You freeze. Your mouth opens, then closes again. She tilts her head. I heard ghosts don't eat, but I saw you chewing bread. I saw you glance down at your hands, pale, calloused, splintered, but not transparent, not hollow. Still, you wonder. Children here speak truth accidentally. You've learned that. She points to the scar on your wrist, the one that never healed right. Is that where they buried you? You smile without meaning to. It's crooked, sad. No, you whisper, surprised by your own voice. Not yet. She seems satisfied with this. With a nod, she drags her toy toward the door, pausing only once to look back. If you're a ghost, she says, then I won't tell anyone. I like ghosts better than the others. Then she's gone. You sit back down beside the salt barrel, hands limp in your lap. And for the first time since you arrived, you wonder what's left of you that even a child can see through. The salt catches in your throat. The smoke stings your eyes. You wipe them without crying. Maybe ghosts don't cry either. The new one arrives bruised, half conscious, and soaked in river muck. They dump him beside the tool shed like cargo that couldn't be traded. He groans once, then curls into himself. The others don't look twice. Another body, another task. You're told to clean him. By now you know better than to protest. You bring a bucket, a cloth, a bowl of broth they won't miss. His hair is matted with blood and straw. His wrists are raw from rope. His lips cracked, swollen, unfamiliar. Until they open. He whispers something hoarse, and the sound stops your breath. Your language, not all of it. A dialect older, shaped by mountain wind and valley songs, but familiar enough to split something open in your ribs. You kneel closer. He says it again. Your name. Your real name. Not the sounds the mistress barks, not the grunts the master uses when calling you to heal. Your name. The one your mother whispered while plaiting your hair. The one your brother shouted when racing through barley fields. The one you buried somewhere behind the kennels. Your hands shake. The cloth falls into the mud. You don't care. Who are you? You whisper. His eyes flutter open. He tries to smile, then winces. They took me from Headmark, he says, voice gravel. You too. You nod. He reaches out barely. His fingers brush your knee before collapsing again. I knew your father, he breathes. He tried to fight. A sound rises in your throat, half sob, half laugh. You press your palm to your mouth. He passes out again. But the damage is done. You sit beside him for a long time. You remember who you were. You remember that you are not from here. You remember that ghosts don't have names, but you do. Still, the house sleeps, but you do not. You sit in the dark, back to the cold wall, the collar still around your neck. Looser now, not from kindness, but disuse. No one's called for you tonight. The man they brought still breathes. You checked, twice. The rise of his chest is shallow but steady. Outside, snow begins to fall. Each flake lands without sound, softening the world, blanketing the kennels, the gates, the tool shed. The smokehouse. The grave you dug behind it. Your hands rest in your lap. They do not tremble. You remember a song, just a few notes, your mother's hum beneath the clatter of bowls. It returns to you as if it had only just left. Your name echoes inside you now, not as a memory, but as marrow. You do not plan. You do not hope. You simply endure. The rituals have changed, but the fear, that stays. Somewhere beyond these walls, the world is still burning. Or maybe it isn't. Maybe it only ever burned in you. A log shifts in the hearth. The coals sigh. You close your eyes. For the first time in months, you sleep. Not safe, not whole, but real.